Hope you had a great weekend. Happy Monday morning. Great job on starting the week with this coaching call. And if you didn't start it here, you started with Morning Ascent, even better. Good on you. So we've got a lot to talk about. So let's get started. You know, I think we're all aware that home prices and home sales are down year over year. If you're not aware, now you are, because they are resoundingly, significantly. And the truth is that it's going to persist, gang. It is not going to change anytime soon because interest rates obviously are higher. That was the reason for this significant shift in such a dramatic way in such a short period of time, because those interest rates had an effect on tempering the real estate market by design. So that's going to persist, and it's going to take some time for all of that to settle out, and interest rates are definitely going to be higher for the next several years. Of course, that doesn't mean that we're going to continue to see prices drop and inventories drop, but it is going to be a different market. So it's really not a question of has the market changed, because it has. And if you're alive in real estate, you're aware of that. But the real question is, how are you going to respond to it? And I use that word respond very specifically, as opposed to react to it. I'm watching a lot of agents in the marketplace and in the company reacting. And there's a difference between responding and reacting. So let's spend just a minute or so on this. I just want you to think about what the difference is between response and reaction. Response is really something that is done by design. Reaction is by surprise. If you think about it, we call EMTs or police officers or firefighters first responders. We don't call them first reactors for a reason. If you think about an EMT or an officer or a fireman, each one of those professionals practice events. In other words, they anticipate calls, emergencies, and they practice what they're supposed to do in those emergencies, so that when a call is made, when that alarm goes off, when they arrive on the scene, they don't think about what they have to do. They just simply do it. In other words, they don't react, they respond. They respond because they've practiced over and over and over and over again what's necessary given the circumstances to just simply do rather than think. Because you just think about that for a second. If you had an EMT who was responding to an emergency call that you made, maybe for one of your loved ones, or it was made for you, and they show up, and the first thing that they do is they say, gosh, I don't remember what I'm supposed to do when somebody is having a heart attack. And therefore they get out their manual and start to read what to do. Of course, gang, you would not want to be found in that situation. You'd want a different EMT. That sort of an EMT is a reactor. The sort of EMT that you want is a responder. Well, in this market, gang, you cannot be a reactor. You've got to be a responder. In other words, you have to have a plan. You have to know what you're going to do. You can't just simply react and wait and hope that things are going to change. I mean, you can, technically you can. But if you do that, I promise you, you're going to die on the vine in this business. You're going to go broke. And for a lot of you, I know that this income in real estate is very important. So let's just talk about specifically, what does it take to achieve just a general goal? I want to just give you an outline, and then we're going to get into the purpose of this call today. But what does it take to achieve a goal? I want to give you 7 quick steps here. We're not going to spend a lot of time on these 7 steps, but I want you to write these things down because they're a great setup for the rest of the conversation. So if you're going to take notes, which I hope you are, I want you to write this title down: 7 steps to achieving a goal. 7 steps to achieving a goal. So the title is 7 steps to achieving the goal. The first step is this. Number 1 is to identify what you want to accomplish. In other words, identify the goal. Identify the goal. Step number 1. Identify the goal. Step number 2 is to identify when you want to achieve the goal. See, a lot of people will say that they want to achieve something, but they never put a deadline on it. They never say, I'm going to achieve X by this specific date. Well, it's important to do that. And the reason it's important to do that is because it begins to mature the goal. It begins to make the goal a reality. When you define a date, it means that you have to take the next step. If you've identified when you're going to do it, it's like, Well, if that's the case, then I need to figure out what I can do, what I should do in order for that goal to be achieved by that deadline date. So number one, what do I want? Number two, when do I want it? Number three, what are the challenges that are going to get in the way? What's going to get in the way? What's going to prevent me or could prevent me if I didn't, step number four, find a solution to that challenge or those challenges? So number one, identify what you want. Number two, identify when you want it. Number three, identify the challenges to achieving that. And then number four, identify the solutions. What do you have to do? What would you have to do in order to overcome those challenges? Okay. And then the next step is to put together a specific plan. In other words, write out a plan. So that's the purpose of this call today. The plan, I'm calling it the 90-day challenge. See, I don't know where each of you is in terms of your business so far this year, but I have got to believe that you're probably finding it more difficult to achieve your goal than you anticipated, that it's certainly more difficult this year to achieve what you want than it was last year. And you may be wondering, what should I be doing? Well, gang, I don't know if any of you attended the Everest Coaching Summit last week, but what I know is this, is that success has rules, and I talked about this. Success in real estate has rules, and if you observe the rules, which are really fundamentals, because the fundamentals haven't changed for the last 30 years since I got into the business, they've never changed. And if you'll just simply recognize the fundamentals and stick to the fundamentals and do those things consistently, it does not matter what the market is doing. I believe this, the great equalizer in any market, at any time, regardless of the number of years that you have in terms of experience, whether it's none or a lot, decades, the great equalizer is going to be consistency at the fundamentals. So I want you to think about that. How good have you been, or how good are you right now at consistently engaging in the fundamentals? See, if your answer is, I've not been very good, well, that's a problem, because we're in a market that is going to demand that not only are you consistent at the fundamentals, but you do them more often. You spend more time doing those things. You cannot be productive in the business of real estate today the way you were last year if you don't increase the amount of activities that you engage in. It's as simple as that. And yes, you can wait, and that's fine if you want to do that. The problem is you're going to be waiting literally for years, because this challenge that we're in here is not going to go away overnight. So I'm going to go back to my question about the fundamentals. How good have you been at consistently engaging in the fundamentals? Well, John, what are the fundamentals? And what does consistency mean? And how much do I have to do? Well, let's talk about that. So what I want you to do is I want you to write down this. The 90-day challenge plan, 90-day challenge plan. And then I'm going to give you 5 things that you can write down under that 90-day challenge plan, okay? And as we're going through this, if you have questions, observations, you need something answered, just interrupt me. Take your phone off mute and just ask the question or put a question in the chat box, okay? So the 90-day challenge plan. The first thing is this, is that, gang, we've got to put together a schedule, okay? So what does that schedule look like? Well, number one, write this down. And this is the way I want you to write it. Today started last night. Today started last night. I want you to recognize that. Today started last night. Well, John, what do you mean? What I mean is that the way in which you went to bed, in other words, the time that you went to bed, the attitude that you had when you went to bed, right? Whether you had just eaten or eaten, a few hours before, all of those things are going to affect the way in which you sleep and therefore the way in which you wake up. See, it's very critical that you recognize that those factors affect the way you're going to wake up. So step number one is getting to bed on time and getting up on time. That's step number one. And there are factors that affect that, right? If you know that you're a person who needs 6 hours of sleep, then you know what time you need to get to bed in order to get up on time to engage in the things that you have to in the business of real estate. I always joke and say that the first thing that the average agent says when they get into the office is, "What's for lunch?" Gang, if that is your approach, you are going to get buried in this business, particularly in a market like this. So you've got to go to bed on time, to get up early on time, to take step number 2, which is to meditate. Now, I don't know how many of you do that, but I know for a lot of people, that word meditation is a weird, freaky, like rub-a-dub-dub, redwood hot tub sort of thing, right? It's just something that hippies or weirdos do. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not true, that meditation is nothing more than getting focused, getting clear in our mind about the things that are going to allow us to be centered, to tap into our potential, the potential that's already within us, to then begin to do the things that we need to in order to get the results that we want. Meditation is about focus, getting present. How consistently are you doing that, if at all? See, gang, if you expect the most out of yourself, out of your brain, out of your body, mentally, physically, and emotionally, well, you got to take the time to make certain that you are centering yourself, centering your mind, body, soul, so that you can expect from all of those resources the results that you want. So meditation is focused on what? Well, gratitudes, the things that you're grateful for, the things that you have in your life that maybe you didn't pay for, the blessings that you have, but also the things that you've worked very hard for that now that you have in your life, that you're grateful for those things, but also grateful for the people, that you're grateful. The number one antidote to fear, gang, is gratitude. So I know that it's easy in today's marketplace with what's going on to be afraid. With all the uncertainty in the world that has led to the uncertainty in our business, that has led to the uncertainty of our clients, the number one antidote to that fear is going to be gratitude. You're focused on the things that you're grateful for. See, when you're grateful, you come from a position of love, not fear. And when you come from a position of fear, you're always going to be more confident, always more confident. So are you meditating? Are you focusing on your gratitudes and getting clear about the blessings in your life, and then focusing on the things that you want in your life and beginning to build those things? See, focus on the gratitudes and on the goals and get present. Let me repeat that. Focus on the goals and the gratitudes and get present. And stop focusing on the past and stop focusing on the future. Get present. Because everything that you need to be in order to achieve what you want is already within you. The problem is we don't tap into that because we're not present. We're worried about yesterday, we're worried about tomorrow, and we're not present in the moment. We're worried about, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money to pay for that tomorrow. Or I screwed up yesterday, or I messed up yesterday. And so therefore we distract this amazing brain from what it needs to be focused on, which is the present and what we need to do today to begin to build the life that we want tomorrow. So step number 2 is to meditate, is to focus on our gratitudes and our goals and to get present. Step number 3 is to practice. I find it fascinating, gang, when I ask real estate agents, what are their goals? How many transactions do they want to close and how much money do they want to make? And nobody ever gives me anything less than $100,000. Everybody wants to make at least $100,000. And many times, in most cases, it's multiples of hundreds of thousands, right? They want to make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. And what I find fascinating is this, that they don't spend any time practicing the skills that are necessary to earn the amount of money that they say that they want to make. See, gang, we're in a profession. Let me say that again. We are in a profession. And like any professional, if we expect to make a lot of money, to earn a lot of money, we have to practice our craft. We have to practice our mindset, the ability to build and protect a powerful mindset. We have to practice our number one skill, which is the skill of communicating with people, prospecting, presenting, objection handling. If you're not doing those things consistently, then I can tell you, you're not going to earn a great income in real estate consistently. Oh, you can do a transaction here and there. The problem is you won't string transaction after transaction after transaction after transaction with predictability and duplication together. It just won't happen. You're leaving it up to chance. And so therefore, you won't have predictability and duplication. But when you practice, you recite out loud your scripts, and then you role play that with others, When you do that consistently, you're increasing your skill set that when you do engage in the activities that you're supposed to in real estate, you're going to get much better results. It'd be like Tom Cruise expecting that when they give him a script and it's time to film, that he didn't read the script, didn't memorize the script, and he just reads from the script or just tries to wing it. Well, we know that he doesn't do that. It's the reason he makes at least $25 million a film and more, because Tom Cruise is highly practiced. We know that a professional football player or a basketball player or a golfer or a soccer player, all of those people, they practice for hours and hours and hours to play minutes on the field. So my question for you is, are you practicing the number of hours that you need to, so that when you are on the field playing, in other words, when you're talking to people, that you're getting the results that you want? I think it was Einstein who said that insanity is simply this: doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Gang, this market is going to require that you change your approach. And if you think that you're going to get great results or any results of any significance by doing what you did last year, you're insane. Let me be the first one to tell you, you are insane. Now, they say that the first step to recovery is admission. So admit that you're insane and say, you know what? I need to change. So I need a 90-day challenge, a plan to begin to achieve what it is that I want. So let me continue here. Step number one was getting to bed on time and getting up on time. Number two was to meditate, to focus on our gratitudes and our goals, to get present. Number three is to practice our skill set of communication, doing that daily, every day in the morning, before we take step number four, which is to talk to people. And notice I didn't use that nasty word, because I know nobody likes to prospect, but we can all talk to people, because you all do. You do every single day. You talk to people in the normal course of life. So talk to people. Well, John, how many people should I talk to, or how long should I talk to people? Well, my attitude is I don't really care what your goal is in terms of production, in terms of transactions. My attitude is talk to people for at least 3 hours a day. In other words, prospect for at least 3 hours a day. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? 3 hours a day? Yeah, let me ask you this question. How many homes do you have under contract right now? Think about that. How many homes do you have under contract right now? And if your answer isn't at least 5 or more, right, then my attitude is it should be more than 3 hours. Let me ask you this question. What are you doing with your time if you don't have homes under contract? If you don't have at least 5 homes under contract, my attitude is you should be prospecting for 4 or 5 hours a day. Because seriously, if you had a quote unquote real job, how many hours would they require you work? Well, we know at least 8 hours. And would you show up to that job and say, well, I can only build the widgets for 3 hours of the 5 hours, and I'm going to take the rest of the day off, that's the 5 hours off? How long would that job last? And of course, the answer is not very long. You would be fired. So your job as a real estate agent is to, number one, to prospect, to talk to people. And if you don't have business, then the only thing that you should be doing, meaning if you don't have anything under contract, the only thing that you should be doing on a daily basis is prospecting, is talking to people. If you have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 or more under contract, I get you're gonna have to spend some time doing that. But gang, let me be clear. A Brian Burnett, for example, who at any time have 10, 15, 20 homes under contract, still finds the time to prospect between 4 and 6 hours every single day. And that is not an exaggeration. So when you say, well, I can't find the time to do that, of course you can. You just simply get distracted by the things that aren't effective at generating business in real estate and forget what it is that you should be doing. And the reason we do that is because we don't want to prospect. We've got to talk to people, gang, and it should be a minimum of 3 hours every day, because real estate is a people business. It is not about homes. It is a people business. We can't wait, especially in this market, for people to call us. We have got to go out and we've got to find the opportunities. So stop avoiding the very activity that we all know on a conscious, intellectual, honest basis It's prospecting. That is the answer to all of my challenges in the business of real estate. If I prospected more and talked to more people, I would have more appointments, I'd have more listings, more buyers to work with, more closings, more dollars, problems solved. And if I were live in a room with you, I would say, can I get an amen? Because you all know what I'm talking about. You know I'm speaking the truth. Step number 5 in the 90-day challenge, the plan. Have the intention to set one appointment per day. Set one appointment per day. Have the intention of setting one appointment per day. See, your intention, what you think and what you focus on, it is critical because what we focus on, we get. Thank you, Elder Evans. Appreciate that. Thanks for the amen. Gang, your intention, what you focus on is going to dictate what you get. So have the intention of setting one appointment a day. I can't imagine being in real estate, being an active real estate agent, the way you guys are, and not waking up saying, today, my intention is setting one appointment, and then going about my day to make certain that that happens. Whether I talk to one person or 30 or 40 or 50, that every day, that's what's going to happen. Because what I recognize is if I don't do that, if I don't set an appointment every day, I am going to be unemployed in the business of real estate, because the only way to be employed in real estate is to have people who want to buy or sell real estate with me. So have the intention of setting one appointment every single day. So gang, I just want to go through some numbers here. Write these numbers down. Write down 240. 240. 240, that's the number of work days in the year. 240 work days. Now, if you have the intention of setting one appointment every single day, you would set 240 appointments. So 240 work days equals 240 appointments set. And you might say, well, John, I can't necessarily set an appointment every single day. You're correct. There will be some days where you won't, but if you will prospect consistently, there will be days where you'll set more than one appointment. So on average, yes, if you're consistent, you will. You will set one appointment a day. I promise you. Stick to the plan. One appointment a day, 240 days will lead to 240 appointments. If you set 240 appointments, let's assume that 50% of those appointments are going to cancel. You're not going to go on them. You cancel them or they cancel them. That means you go on 120 appointments, 120. So write that down, 120 appointments attended. You go on 120 appointments. Now, let's assume that you take 1/3, 33% of those contracts, whether it's a listing agreement or a buyer agreement appointment. You take 1/3. That means what? You're taking 30 listings and or buyer broker agreements, 30. Now let's assume that out of those 30, that 3/4 of those actually work out. In other words, that they close. Okay, so you started with 30 and you got 3/4 of those. Okay, that means you end up with 22.5 or 23 transactions that you close over the course of the next 12 months. Gang, I challenge you to do this. For the next 90 days, I want you to go to bed on time and get up on time. I want you to, once you get out of bed, to meditate, to focus on your goals and your gratitudes. What are you grateful for and what are you going to accomplish? Number 3, practice your skill set of communicating with other human beings. Reciting out loud your scripts and your objection handlers, and practice the way in which you need to communicate with people so that you inspire and motivate them and help them feel safe so they choose you versus the competition. Step number 4, to literally talk to people by design, intentionally. Pick up the phone, door knock, but set aside the time. Set aside the 3 hours or more to pick up the phone or to door knock, and do that consistently 5 days a week for 240 days out of the year. And then step number 5, have the intention of setting one appointment every single day. That when you make those calls, have that intention, set that intention, and make that happen. Gang, if you will do that every single day, I believe that the great equalizer is consistency. And I don't care what your experience has been in the past in terms of number of years in the business. I don't care what your experience has been in terms of results. If you will simply stick to this plan for 90 days, I promise you, you'll start to see your business revolutionized like that. Imagine your business turning around in 90 days or less. What would that look like? What would it look like if you were setting one appointment every single day consistently over the next 90 days? What would it look like over the next 90 days if you closed 3, 4, 5, 6 transactions? What impact would that have on your life? How would that change the stress that you're experiencing and how that's affecting the relationships in your life? How would that affect your mental, physical, and emotional well-being? What sort of choices and freedom would you have if that began to happen? See, gang, you're not very far away from that. You're not. It is simply a decision to recognize the truths in real estate, the rules of success in real estate, and adhere to those rules. And if you will, enact this 90-day plan, I promise you, if you'll stick to it, I promise you, you're going to get great results. And you'll come back to me and you'll say, John, I remember that coaching session that you did back in May, and you told me what to do, and I simply wrote down what you said, and I committed to it, and I did it. And it is amazing how it has turned around my business and my life. I promise you, if you will do that, that will be the conversation 90 days from now. But if you don't, and you simply wait, in other words, you react to what the market's doing, you're going to continue to get what the average agent gets, which is not very much. Simply waiting for the market to change as opposed to them changing their response so that they get great results. Gang, that's not you. That's why you're on this call. So make certain that the time that you've spent in the last 30 minutes was not a waste. Take those notes, put together the plan, and commit to it, and begin to do it today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Begin to do it today. Having said that, if any of you need any assistance, you want to chat, you want to sit down, you want to have a phone call to help you through this process and to get motivated and get started, I'm happy to do that. My number is 801-580-8425, 801-580-8425. Because gang, I believe in each and every one of you. There isn't any one of you who can't achieve what it is that you want and have massive success in real estate and make a ton of money, make yourself a millionaire. There's no reason you can't. If a kid from Orangeville, Utah, who grew up in trailers, whose dad was an ex-con and his mom, didn't graduate from high school, if I can do it, it is no question beyond a doubt that you can do it. You can absolutely do it. All right, gang. Any thoughts or questions as we wrap this up? Any amens? Any hallelujahs?
Amen.
All right. I love it. Good to see you, brother. So Al just said amen. Anybody else? Any commitments? Anybody going to step up?
What is your phone number again?
It's 801-580-8425.
Okay, got it.
Yep. And then Michael, you said go over 6 and 7. So I didn't have them numbered that way, but the last thing that I said that was numbered was have the intention of setting one appointment. And then I went on to talk about just simply writing down the numbers, the 240 work days, the 240 appointments set, the 120 appointments attended, the 30 listings or buyer broker agreements taken, and then closing on 23 transactions. Oh, the 7 steps. Yeah. So on the 7 steps, you've got, and I didn't say that, thank you. The 6th step is to figure out why you want to do this. What's your purpose? Why do you want the goal of 12 transactions, 24? We have to have some reason why we're going to do something. And I don't care what your reason is, but understand why you're going to do it. It could be because you recognize that that if you keep doing what you're going to doing, the financial destruction is going to be so significant that it would be harmful to you and your family. Maybe it is that you have this dream, this goal of taking your family on a European vacation, and you've never done that before. This is the year that you're going to do it. Whatever the reason as to why you're going to do it, that would cause you to show up every single day and do the tedious, mundane things. And then step number 7 is to simply go out there and do it. It's what I call Nike, just do it. You have the plan, now take the steps, all right? Hopefully that was helpful. And then Amy wrote here, we tend to think business should be exciting all the time, but serious business people do the mundane. Yeah, that you're spot on. Because see, people don't stand in line, in queue to watch you do the tedious, mundane things like prospecting, objection handling, right? Practicing your scripts and applauding you saying, great job, Amy. So good, that was exceptional. That doesn't happen. Your accolades come when you close the transaction and people say, thank you for what you did in changing my life and how you helped my family. Those are the accolades, but you don't get the opportunity to do that until you do the tedious, mundane things, to your point. All right. Gang, great job on being on the call. If you have any questions, want to reach out to me, please do that. Otherwise, we will see you next time.